In 2008, the world's most respected investment banker sat across from FBI agents and said just 3 words. It's all fake. $65 billion. Gone. Thousands of victims, celebrities, charities, retirees who lost everything. A story so insane that Robert De Niro himself played the man behind it. But here's the thing Hollywood didn't tell you. Bernie Madoff wasn't just a fraudster. He was the most trusted man on Wall Street, and that's exactly what made him the most dangerous. This is the real story. Bernard Lawrence Madoff was born in Queens, New York, in 1938. He was not born into money. He was not connected. He was just a kid from a middle-class family with one thing most people did not have: an obsessive need to be taken seriously. At 22, he scraped together $5,000, money he earned installing sprinkler systems and lifeguarding at a beach, and he launched his own investment firm out of his father-in-law's accounting office in Midtown Manhattan. He called it Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities. Nobody paid attention to him. The big Wall Street firms looked down on him. He was not invited to the right clubs. He did not go to the right schools. And that rejection lit a fire in Bernie Madoff that would burn for the next 50 years. So, he got creative. While everyone else was still doing trades manually, Madoff pioneered electronic trading. He helped build the technology that would eventually become the NASDAQ stock exchange. By the 1980s, he was its chairman. Let that sink in. The man who ran the biggest fraud in American history was also the chairman of one of the most respected stock exchanges in the world. And because of that reputation, because of that credibility, people did not just trust him with their money. They begged him to take it. Here's how Madoff's fraud actually worked, and it's almost embarrassingly simple. He told investors he had a strategy, a special proprietary method for generating consistent returns no matter what the market did. Up or down, boom or bust. Bernie always made money. He was not investing anything. He was taking new investors' money and using it to pay off old investors, a classic Ponzi scheme. It was a financial lie that only works as long as more money keeps coming in than going out. But Madoff was smarter than most. He did not promise crazy returns. No 50%. No 100%. He promised steady, boring, reliable returns, around 10 to 12% per year. Every year, without fail. That consistency, that boring, unsexy consistency, is exactly what made people believe him. Because here is what wealthy investors fear more than anything. Not missing a big gain. Losing what they already have. And Madoff promised them they would never lose. His client list read like a who's who of power and money. Steven Spielberg's charitable foundation. Actors Kevin Bacon and Kyra Sedgwick. Larry King. Elie Wiesel, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, lost his entire life savings. Major banks. Hedge funds. European royalty. They all had one thing in common. They never questioned him. Why would they? This was Bernie Madoff, the man who built NASDAQ, the man whose Midtown Manhattan firm processed more trades than almost anyone on Wall Street. If you were lucky enough to get into his fund, and most people had to beg for the privilege, you kept your mouth shut and cashed your checks. For 30 years, that is exactly what they did. But there was one man who didn't believe it. His name was Harry Markopolos. He was a financial analyst from Boston. In 1999, his boss handed him a stack of papers and said, "Figure out how Madoff does it. We want to copy his strategy." Markopolos sat down with the numbers. 4 hours later, he stood up and said something nobody wanted to hear. It is mathematically impossible. He ran the models. He checked the math from every angle. The returns Madoff was generating could not exist in the real world. The strategy he claimed to use could not produce those numbers. Not consistently, not for decades. Markopolos went to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the very agency whose entire job is to catch people like Bernie Madoff. They ignored him. He went back in 2001, then 2005, then 2007. He handed them a document titled, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." 29 red flags laid out in black and white. The commission investigated twice, and twice they walked away convinced Madoff was clean. Why? Because when the commission investigators showed up at Madoff's offices in Lower Manhattan, he did not panic. He smiled. He sat down with them. He answered every question with the calm confidence of a man who had nothing to hide. He even told them exactly what to look for to expose him, because he knew they would not actually look. He was right. In 2008, the financial world collapsed. The housing market crashed. Banks failed. Investors panicked. And suddenly everyone wanted their money back at the same time. Madoff didn't have it. He scrambled. He tried to raise cash. He moved money between accounts, but the walls were closing in, and he knew it. On December 10th, 2008, he called his two sons, Mark and Andrew, into his Upper East Side apartment. He sat them down, and he told them the truth for the first time in 30 years. There is no investment strategy. There are no trades. It is all one big lie. His sons didn't protect him. The next morning, they went straight to a lawyer, and by that afternoon, federal agents were at Bernie Madoff's door. He didn't run. He didn't fight. He opened the door and told them, "Yes, it is all true. I did it. All of it." Bernie Madoff was arrested on December 11th, 2008. He was 70 years old. The fraud had lasted at least 17 years, possibly longer. It involved $65 billion in claimed losses and 4,800 victims across the world. The fallout was devastating. Charities that had invested with Madoff shut down overnight. Retirees who had trusted him with their entire life savings had nothing left. Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor who had spent his life rebuilding, called Madoff's betrayal a second destruction. Bernie Madoff pled guilty to 11 counts of fraud, money laundering, and perjury. He was sentenced to 150 years in federal prison. His son Mark committed suicide exactly 2 years after the arrest. His other son Andrew died of cancer in 2014, publicly saying his father was dead to him. His wife Ruth was left with barely enough money to survive. Bernie Madoff died in a federal prison medical center in April 2021. He was 82 years old. And Harry Markopolos, the man who tried to warn everyone for nearly a decade, never received a single dollar in reward money. The SEC quietly disciplined a handful of employees and moved on. It became the greatest financial fraud in American history, hiding in plain sight on the 17th floor of the Lipstick Building in Midtown Manhattan for 30 years. When someone is charming enough, credible enough, and trusted enough, people stop asking questions. Don't stop asking questions. If this story made you think twice about who you trust, you are exactly who this channel is made for. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss the next one, because the next story is even more unbelievable than this one.